Hey, y'all, welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank, and I'm joined by Squeaks.
Squeaks!
There was so much fist pumping in the air, guys. Really, the video version of this podcast is the only way to watch it. And he's already started the coughing, which literally I thought he might die last episode. That was my favorite clip of the episode. Was you just damn near falling out of your chair trying to say the word Kieran Culkin. But yeah, so.
Oh my gosh. Just trying to bring the energy right away.
Yeah, that's the thing, is we record so freaking early. All right, so let's this week we're going to be talking with Mark Daumier, a teacher who's pioneering a new program using comic books to help kids teach. We're going to be discussing, the new King of the Hill intro, EA canceling good games because that's what they do, and then we're going to get prepped for that Switch coming out. That's coming out this Thursday, and Squeaks is going to be reviewing that for us. This episode is brought to you by our Patreon. By the way, guys, if you are a patron of ours, make sure you guys update your address this week. Now, because we have the swag bags going out for the summer. Shout out to a couple of our patrons. Scott from Washington. I'm not using last names. Scott from Virginia, because we have two Scotts. We have Sonny in CA, Banshee Shooter. Shout out, guys. If you didn't hear your name, shout out. And again, update your address. Okay. Squeaks?
Man, real quick though, where was the comic book teaching when we were in school?
I know, right? He ended up, it's such a good discussion with Mark. And it was like, he came to me and he's like, hey, I've got this idea I wanted to do an interview because I'm doing this thing. And I'm like, that sounds fascinating. I want to learn more. And he literally reached out to Dark Horse and stuff like that. And Dark Horse sent him so many comics. He has 14,000 comics in his classroom right now. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And then part of it, your reports are comics. You make comic books. You have to do a report on the World War II, whatever, the Battle of Normandy. Do a comic book about it.
Man.
It's like, this
what
needs
a
to be
good
my
way
teacher.
To spice up learning. Yeah.
I was like, dude, can I learn from you now? That's
yeah.
Oh man. All right, so let's start with our question of the week. And I know this is new for you, but what's your go-to comfort game when you need to unwind? I'll start off first off with people who message us on Instagram. We've got Frey, who said Mass Effect or any of Mass Effect's games. I need to get into those. And or Lego games, which Lego games is great. And Lord of the Rings Lego game, it's good. Anime Plus of the network, of course, said any Pokemon or Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing, such a pandemic game. Every time I think about it now. Personally, for me, it's Sea of Thieves. Like out on the ocean, that's such a good unwind game. What about you?
Yeah, man. So my unwind's a little different. So I think because I always see myself going back to this, and you probably maybe seen me play it recently, but it's gonna be Space Marine 2. I like to play the PvE and just fucking kill hordes of aliens. Yeah, and that's my unwind game.
Hey, we've all got our jam. That is a different one for sure. Is it good time to get into the Warhammer franchise? I'm tempted to jump in that franchise, but it's so big.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm definitely doing my studies and stuff. I'm definitely on the Warhammer 40K train right now. Reading their ultimate guides just for backstory, lore, and stuff like that. But I have a recommendation that's going to be within the Warhammer world, and I'll save that for after. But there's a lot of games right now. Space Marine, Hired Gun was on Steam. I know these are kind of somewhat dated, but and I'll talk a little bit at the end, but Darktide I just got into, and I think it's a fucking phenomenal Last of Us or what is it called, Left 4 Dead type game. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Looks good.
I'll see you there.
See you there. All right, let's dig into some of the news that came out this week. So King of the Hill, we have the revival coming in on Hulu. They announced that it's going to be releasing on August 4th. And then we have the new intro to it. And did you have a chance to watch this new intro for King of the Hill?
I did. And I think what did you think of it? Because you're a massive King of the Hill fan, right? Does anything concern you at all? Or did you like seeing some of that nostalgia again?
So one of the things that's a little tricky is the world around Hank is evolving so quickly that you're like, how's he going to handle this? He doesn't do it very well in the 90s. How's he going to do it now? And you see that Boomhauer and all of them are embracing a lot of the new tech. And then in the intro, we see that he literally moves away, which I've heard is because he goes to Saudi Arabia for work. And then comes back and somebody moved into his house for a bit, yada, yada, yada. But I did have a chance to see a leaked video that's another trailer coming out very soon that definitely gives you the same exact vibes of the old show. I'm like, okay, that does feel comforting that it's still the same thing. There's jokes about, like he's like, oh, back when America was great and we did this and everybody worked hard. And some like kids making fun of him for being a boomer and stuff. So like there's some joking about modern stuff there too. But I think it's a fresh take. Did you watch King of the Hill much when you were younger?
It was more like pieces here and there at night. I wasn't like a massive fan or like a crazy following, but I do remember some of the episodes of watching. What was the son's name?
Bobby.
I always want to say Bobby. Okay, I was going to say Tommy, but I was like, that's Rugrats. So like seeing him in this trailer, like growing up now, I'm super interested in like doing the dynamic now because of the times change and stuff like that. And it looks like they are following that, so it's going to be interesting. Probably very comical,
I think so too. Yeah, one of the things with Bobby too is he's a chef out of Dallas now, and one of the keys I'm feeling out of this is that he's not like married and kids. And this is, I mean, true to life, right? Like my parents, they got married when my dad was 18 or 17, 18, I think. They're like real young in my opinion, and I'm like 39 and couldn't care less about getting married. Like I'm worried about getting plat on Marvel Rivals. And so, I could definitely see myself more Bobby than how Hank was. And I think that might be something that we see kind of commonplace. Even like Jonathan, for example, got married pretty late. For you got married kind of young, but
24. Yeah.
24. Right. Yeah. Okay. Not bad.
That's
not bad.
Young,
yeah. So there might be a little difference there, like millennials or whatever with Bobby at this point.
Yeah. I kind of want to see that when Hank moves away and you have the new guy there. I mean, it's probably predictable, but I really want to see like the whole, oh, you're not Hank type thing, like they're out there, they're having the beer and they're all sitting right there, and you kind of get them, you see Boomhauer and them and just kind of like upset that Hank's not there, and like, oh, it's almost like Hank, but I wonder what decision they're gonna bring to that dynamic, like that situation.
And then Dale is running for office as mayor, and he's like such a big conspiracy theorist guy back in like the early 2000s, and nowadays think about, like, I know for a fact that in the poster there's a 5G tower by his house, so he's gonna be like at war with his own 5G tower.
So that's why the post gets removed. I saw that right in the trailer. There was I
don't know if it got removed. It might have, but the poster shows like one of them's flying drones, like Bill's flying drones or whatever. But Dale has his 5G tower that he's kind of like. Oh, I see what you're saying. Post,
okay.
That probably is. I see what you're saying. Telephone
that's
post.
The telephone.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not okay. I got it.
Probably, actually, that probably is related to. So Dale runs for office because he's probably trying to fight all the conspiracies, and that's gonna be a blast to see him. Like,
that's funny.
Whatever.
Like straight to the aliens. Let's see it.
Oh, it's lizard people. There's real dragons are real, and they live under our houses. Shit like that.
Yeah,
it's great. And meanwhile, his wife is fully cheating on him, and he's like, "I'm glad you're getting those massages and getting better, baby."
I remember that.
Yeah. Which we see that Redcorn's picking her up, so they're still cheating on each other.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I super remember that. Oh man.
Oh man,
that's funny.
All right, let's move into Marvel. Tania Miller joins the MCU as Jocasta for the new Vision series. We're starting to get more and more information about this Vision series, and I'm starting to really dig it because it's like going full comic book. Are you familiar with Jocasta from the comics?
Not at all.
Okay. So
and usually I try to keep up with you. And
you do.
Not on this one.
Yeah, so you failed this. That's okay.
Damn it, again. Such a failure.
Jocasta, she's basically what it is Ultron makes himself a wife because he's like one of his like little traits is that he's like permanently lonely. So he makes himself a wife, and just like with Voltron, he uses Ultron, he uses Hank Pym's brainwaves to create himself, or that's how he's created. He uses Janet Van Dyne's brainwaves to create Jocasta. So she's going to be made basically off of the Wasp's, brain waves. And so, of course, they fall in love. But she's made off of Janet's brainwaves, so she becomes a hero, and he's still a villain. So it doesn't work out. Of course, she eventually joins the Avengers for a little bit. And so in this, though, I think she might be the outright villain. I think she's going to be one of Vision's villains. We have a few people that are like clearly hunting Vision down because he's super tech. Like the American government's going to want to catch him. But then like maybe on the other side, because we know Ultron is in this show as well. James Spader's coming back to play Ultron and everything. So maybe maybe Ultron's trying to get Vision for his body or whatever, and Jocasta is also a villain. What do you think about her being a villain or maybe even a hero in this?
Yeah, no. So Ultron made this perfect wife, right? Like dream, right? Like ideal wife. But so if he's out of the picture, we're gonna like do a backstory a little bit. I mean, a backtake, dream, whatever, back in time a little bit.
Maybe, yeah.
To show that maybe creation, and then jump to White Vision, and then have that dilemma. Is that
the thing is so White Vision was created. Like White Vision is the body and not like the soul fully unlocked for Vision himself. And so he's out there trying to unlock his soul. Maybe what we'll have is during this process, instead of like Ultron creating Jocasta, what if Vision creates Jocasta? Because there is that book where Vision creates a family. So we could have something like that. And then
I like that. I like it.
Ultron never dies. He always is always upgrading his body, right? And so what if he sees this like kind of shell of Vision and think this is his chance to take the Vision body that he should have always had, which he planned on taking in the beginning, and maybe this is his chance. Because Ultron coming back to the MCU, I think, is vital. He's such a good villain. He is he leads an empire at one point. He's part of the Annihilation storyline here and there. So I think it's good for him to come back. This could be our chance.
Damn. Okay. So, and then we'll what? Maybe if this was like your dream, right? And Ultron comes back, we'll get that little sneak peek in this
in the show,
in this series, and then maybe like lead up to the big screen. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Well, Ultron's in like every episode. He is a part of the show.
Oh shit! See, I didn't even realize that. Yeah. Okay.
He's a big part of the show.
Educate me.
So I think that the easiest way to go about that is that because of course he'd be in the programming, and the programming just got screwed up with that with WandaVision, the end of WandaVision. So it's easy for him to be like the devil on his shoulder. If
I was just thinking that. Yep.
Yeah, right there you have Vision trying to make decisions, but Ultron's always trying to get in, and so you just see him kind of like walking around and trying to do the puppet master thing. Just exactly Ultron's vibe. Trying to like get in control of the body. That would be really dope. I would love to see that. And then the creation of Jocasta would come through that.
Like we say every episode, just fucking sign him. Sign Frank.
There we go. Get me in on this. Keeping in the world of Marvel, let's talk about the Black Panther game. So there's 2 Black Panther games coming up. 1943, which is done by another company that looks incredible, and it's going to be it's with Captain America. It looks like it's going to have the gameplay style of the newer God of Wars. But we had another one coming from EA, which was going to be using the Shadow of Mordor kind of a Assassin's Creed art style or play style. And that one just got canceled because EA is trash. What do you think about them canceling Black Panther games? And what are we missing out on with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bummer. I mean, what we're missing out on is potentially what could be the next, like maybe Jedi Survivor Series, right? Like, hey, here's the licenses. We're putting it out to different companies. Who's going to make the best? And look at now you have, which is Origin, EA, right? The
EA's got Origin, yeah.
Okay. So, you got something that sticks and that people want to be in that like Star Wars culture now. Like how much does Cal Kestis like advertise in Star Wars that we want to see him on the screen, right? They're even making lightsabers for this freaking guy at Disneyland now for $400, So you just don't know what might have been picked up, and maybe this universe of Black Panther could potentially revamp Black Panther itself to where we could see him back on the big screen now in some other multiverse way or whatever, I don't know. Who knows? Whatever. But what I like about it, and it's kind of a shame too, that Disney canceled their I think it was just like Disney Interactive or something like that, game studio, whatever.
Right.
Long time ago, back when the Disney Infinity kind of stopped rolling out. But so it's a shame that it's almost like, well, if you just had one dedicated massive company like bring back Disney, you can focus on different, licenses and push these games out. But you don't, whatever, which kind of maybe opens up what potential of masterpiece can be next, maybe like I know what people are going crazy, and it's funny to even like hear people talk about it because they're trying to push it so much, but like the Battlefront 3,
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be nice to just be, capturing a different audience and then like educating on who the character is itself. I mean, come on, look at Marvel Rivals. There's characters that people aren't interested at all are now like, hey, I fucking want to read Emma Frost comic books,
Luna
like
Snow is a real big one. That was like only popular in South Korea, and now suddenly everybody wants more Luna Snow content. Yeah.
exactly. So, I mean, I think that's kind of a bummer. But it wasn't, I feel like, as advertised as this Captain America Black Panther one. So I
Yes.
was kind of a
Yeah.
shocked way because it had me focused on that. I was like, no freaking way. And
Right.
then when I heard this was a separate game, totally even forgot that was even in the works. So do we know why the layoffs and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I saw it was like a couple thousand people. I mean, I could be wrong. I think
We're
I read it wrong.
800 right now.
800.
Yeah,
Okay.
but more coming. And a lot of that is
Yeah.
the industry as a whole right now is just going through a shrinking phase as video games change shape again. I think one of the
Mhm.
problems is that indie games are far less expensive and sometimes become indie darlings, and they're less of a gamble. Like if an indie game comes out and it
Mm.
stinks, doesn't matter. It'll sit on Steam for a long time. It'll become a sale. It'll
Yeah.
eventually sell. Meanwhile, when one of these games comes out, like a great example is the Avatar game that came out that you really liked from Ubisoft. Game came out,
Oh, yeah.
well-made
Yeah.
game. You liked it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
flash in the pan and it's gone. And now you see it for like $10 on the stores because it didn't hit
Yeah.
hard enough. And
Yeah.
it's like that thing costs like 300 million to make. Damn, it's
Yeah.
wild.
And you know what though? And it's almost like a kind of a shame on Ubisoft with that, because maybe this could have been like what Black Panther might have been, was just the reskin of a game. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I love the Avatar universe, you know that, and the game I have a pretty good time, and I actually want to go back to. It's funny because I was just thinking about this like a week or two ago.
Yeah.
But it's a reskin of Far Cry,
Right.
So was Black Panther just going to be a reskin of something that EA just always does?
Shadow
it's like,
of Mordor.
well, is it
Like,
really enjoyable?
They literally hired
Yeah.
almost the entire staff that worked on Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. So we were really hoping for a new version of the Nemesis system that maybe like kind of worked around the actual Nemesis system because it's all patented thanks to WB Games. But so that was kind of the idea. Is like, well, this will be a reskin of those, but it'll be Black Panther's reskin. So that's kind of dope. It'll be in Wakanda. Yeah.
So it's almost like, will that still capture the audience, or like retain them, after so long? Because after playing so much like Avatar, I was kind of like fatigued a little bit because I was like, I mean, this is just Far Cry, so maybe that was a part of the decision. Maybe they needed who's working on. I mean, I'm asking these questions right now, whatever. But who's working on that Black Panther Captain America game?
I was really hoping you wouldn't ask me because I totally forgot.
I'll look it up.
Okay, he's googling it up. But that one, first off, it's going to be a partnership game where you have a partner with you the entire time. Either Captain America or
it's cool.
Black Panther have a partner with them, but they're using like really nice mocap. It's looking really solid, and that's closer in development than this one was. This one was farther out, and EA has been given 3 Marvel games to make. One of them's Iron Man, and one of them's Untitled. But it's like Iron Man is notoriously very hard to turn into a video game. It's already flopped a few times, and they've already said like that thing's a harder one to make. I don't trust EA to make that one. This one I think was the easiest one to do. And then I'm like, what is this other Untitled one? Is it like another Avengers game, which just cost people money and didn't actually take off like they thought it was gonna be live service? And I think we're finally done with that phase. Thank God.
Yeah.
Because those are just a waste of everybody's time. Find it?
Yeah. Yeah. So I got a publisher of the Skydance New Media. So they did which, some of the good things and one of the best ones ever, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, which is that VR game that just seems extremely has been popular and seen memes, TikTok, whatever. But it's funny because with Marvel 1943, which is crazy because it has it dated for next year. Is that correct?
Yeah.
2026? Oh my goodness. What the fuck? Why are we even talking about it? They have an Untitled Star Wars game that they're working on as well. That is pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I think that was the Starfighter one. I think it was going to be based off the Starfighter franchise, like getting that kind of cooking. That'd be nice.
Like squadrons and stuff?
Yeah, like Rogue Squadrons, yeah. With
like that.
because we had one with EA that made one, but then we have the Starfighter movie in the works right now. And so they're making games that are going to kind of bring in the idea that X-Wings are cool again, essentially. So a Maverick-esque game.
I enjoy those. I enjoy the squadrons. I like just flying around shit things. Okay. Branching off a little bit.
Yeah.
Games that are tailored to movies. Are we going to go back to that?
Oh my God, please do. Some of the best, yeah. That Lord of the Rings games were so good. Game. Yeah.
Oh, I know, exactly. So maybe if it's not like direct, like, I don't know, whatever, like Marvel, they're making a Marvel 1943 movie. Oh, here's a 1943 game. Even if it's not like that, but it's still like branch off. It's in that set in the universe. Bring them back.
Hey, I'll throw a win in for you. I think Tron Ares would make a good video game where you take you take those light bikes, you take all that Tron stuff, but like in Tron
Yeah.
areas, it's coming into our world. Can you imagine a Grand Theft Auto where you're using a light bike? Like, holy cow, that would be dope.
Yeah.
Cutting people off, messing them up. Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny because then you make me think of the Tron game that came out with the movie, and I enjoyed that one too. So
Yeah.
like, damn, like, come on. Yeah.
Dude, to me, Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
and then the prequel trilogy, the games that came out with the prequel trilogies, freaking stellar. They were all bangers.
Yeah.
And then that's what led to Force Unleashed, which was a good franchise too. So,
yeah. Heck yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next thing here. Keeping in the world of gaming, we have Pokemon Legends ZA that just got a release date for October 16th. Now, after this, we'll go ahead and get right into the Switch 2 stuff. But this is coming out on both Switch 1 and Switch 2. Is this a reason for people who are a little bit hesitant to get a Switch 2 to get the game, to get a Switch 2?
Okay. I'm going to say no, not this game. Okay. I'm not going to say I'm Pokemon fatigue, but I am tired of I don't know what you could say, the lack of progressing the ability of what Pokemon can be.
Right.
Okay. So right now, I have not picked up Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Is what I believe we're on right now, right?
Yeah. It is.
Yeah. Because I think Arceus is still like the best Pokemon game.
Yeah.
The battling system, the just roaming everywhere, whatever. Graphics on it looks 10 times better. So what is it, ZA? Fucking alphabet shit they always do.
But this is Arceus Legends. It's Pokemon Legends ZA.
It's so, but it doesn't look good though. It looks bad. You see them like run around the rooftops and stuff like that.
Yeah, because it's all in city now. It's not going to be in the wild. So.
It does not. Yeah, it does not look like a Switch 2 quality game. Like, okay, so I will say, like, I'm not expecting, like, I mean, we got what is it, like 1080p, 120 hertz, and I was looking at videos of Mario Kart. Mario Kart looks great on the handheld part, and then when you dock it 4K, whatever, it looks great. The stuff, I don't know if it was just Switch 1 graphics or whatever, that shit needs to be at least a Switch 2 standard, you know? Like, it's just crazy that the lack of, like, but it's us though, it's our fault. We keep buying it. Then when's enough, you know?
Yeah.
Like what do you, like, you've seen some of this, right?
Oh yeah. So like for me, I didn't play Arceus, but I did play Scarlet and Violet.
Okay.
Yeah. And I enjoyed them, but again, it's what you expect. And you know how to optimize the hell out of that thing. There was some new thing, but nothing so revolutionary. Now, this one is basically sequel to Arceus. It is like in the Legends line. So hopefully it has something new in it. The fact that it's all in one city, it's not appealing to me, but I do like that that's a chance that they're taking. Like that's a different kind of setting we've ever seen before, you know? My concern with this game, and actually with Mario Kart in a way, Mario Kart was actually developed for the Switch 1. And this one, you could tell, I think, was developed for the Switch 1 as well. And then they were like, well, Switch 2 is coming out. Let's make sure we make a polished version for that. And I'm looking forward to the games that are made for the Switch 2. That are like, we can't put this on the Switch 1 because it's not able to handle this game. The next Metroid, some shit like that. The next Zelda. That's what I'm looking forward to. So I think if you're on the fence for buying a Switch 2, this is definitely not the game that's going to get you to push over the edge.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you can't even say like, oh, I'll buy it when it's on sale because, you know, Nintendo games never go on sale, even used. But I mean, is this one that I'll potentially pick up maybe down the road when I have nothing else to play? Maybe, because I did skip Scarlet and Violet, and I'm kind of willing to give that city a chance. And see what they did on like how, I guess, Pokemon kind of pop up on your screen and you can kind of catch them. So that'd be a little different because you're used to grass, right? Or if it will be like I don't remember like the full gameplay. I just was remembering like in being in disbelief and how shitty it looked, quality. But like if it was like Arceus where they're just kind of roaming and you go,
it's that.
Was it like that? Do you remember that? Okay,
it is that. Okay. And there are like wilds. The idea is that this is a experimental city where humans and Pokemon can live together. So there are wild areas of the city that are like kind of meant to be a replacement of the wilds. The other thing is there's not new Pokemon in this. It's like Legends where they just take Pokemon that already exist and will make probably alternates or variations that are in this, but it's not like they're adding new Pokemon. It's not a mainline game. Which is that's why I didn't get Legends, because I was like, well, I like the mainline games. But yeah, I mean, maybe I should play Arceus. before I play this one then.
I think Arceus is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think it was a near perfect Pokemon game for what
That's
Pokemon
wild.
can be.
Yeah.
It's just kind of time to like, it's time to upgrade Pokemon, you know, like it gets kind of frustrating when you're saying like, this is what Pokemon can be. And then like someone else does their own like video game quick work. And you're like, oh my God, we'll never get something like of that quality.
Yeah.
But
you know, one of the things that I am a big fan of is people who will make the old school Pokemon games new again. And I'm like, that's kind of what I'm in for. I don't necessarily need you guys to do these like not well done because the Switch won behind the shoulder games. Give me one that looks like Link's Awakening. I thought was fantastic art style, something like that. I'm on board with, and then just invent new Pokemon. Give me really good story like White and Black and stuff like that.
Yeah, they kind of did that with Pokemon Go. I'm enjoying that one quite a bit because it is Pallet Town, old school, red, blue, whatever, and just updated graphics. But you're like throwing the Pokeball, you know?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, like it would be on the phone itself. But it is like over the top, kind of like newer graphics, like that Legend of Zelda, Link's Past and stuff, or Link's Awakening. Yeah, I don't know. It's just time for just to make it seem like this Pokemon game literally came out 2025, you know?
Yeah. So we have the Switch 2 coming out this Thursday. You're going to be reviewing it for us. You're playing it. You're going to be getting the new Mario Kart. Can you kind of give us a rundown for people who are not sure if they're buying the system or not? What's coming with this? Is it a big upgrade? Let us know.
Yeah, so the Switch 2 releasing June 5th is, which I was kind of shocked because looking at side by side, they weren't really comparing it too much to the OLED, which was kind of frustrating. You're comparing it to the original. So then we finally got the specs. I was like, okay, it is bigger. It's going to have that 7.9 LCD screen, which kind of scared me because I'm like, well, what the fuck? I got an OLED, right?
Right.
Visually looking at it just through videos, it does look good. It is 1080p, yeah, like I said, 10 LCD but 1080p resolution. And when it's docked, I'm seeing that it's going to be 4K. It'll come with 256 gigs because now, which I have no clue. I'm going to branch off a little bit. People complaining about like, oh, you're not owning the game, you're getting a game key or whatever the fuck. Have you owned any other system? Like really? Like anything? Because you don't own anything.
Right.
You know? Right. God. Which is crazy. But the counter for that is, can I take my Switch and not be connected to the internet? This whole thing's about traveling and stuff. So, because right now, if you had a digital version of the game, you need to be connected to the internet to get like, you know, the verified licensing. That's a massive downfall.
I can almost guarantee you have to be connected to the internet because people have early access to the systems right now that are like people who work in retail or whatever. They get an early game, whatever. And they're all saying that it's required that you download a patch before you can even start the system right now. So people are like, oh, that might be a day one thing that's like to make sure you only play on day one. But nevertheless, that's showing that the system's okay with internet connection being a requirement, essentially.
And that's a problem because essentially you're taking the Game Boy aspect away from it. And they're like, you're the handheld conqueror guys. Like, what's going on?
And that's the main reason I play my Switch is for the handheld aspect of it. Yeah.
I mean, like, come on. I'm not everywhere I go. I'm not going to like connect to the internet or something. Whatever. I'm just going to pick up and want to play. Anyway, get off that. But so it supports, and you might know a little bit of these specs than I do, but it supports what they call it. It's a HDR10 and a VRR. And that's when it comes up to the 120 hertz, like I said, 4K docked. The Switch 2 is a larger display, which I was a little concerned because, again, like I said, they were comparing a lot to the original Switch, not the OLED.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, the OLED has a 7-inch, and then this is 7.9. And visually from videos, it does look bigger, so that's nice. I did want something with I like the bigger size. I compared it a lot to my Portal. My Portal has a beautiful fucking screen on it. I praise that. But I do love like the massive, like I'm holding a TV.
They want to push comms for the Switch, which you could buy a separate camera and stuff like that. Which, by the way, when you're using that camera, it does lower your frame rate because it's just a lot for the system. Do you think that's
fucking crazy? I bought 2 of them.
Oh, did you? Okay. Yeah.
On accident. But yeah.
Yeah, you could probably sell the other one, frankly.
I bought the camera and then I bought the plant one, not knowing that the plant one was I thought it was a case, like a cover for your camera, but it's a whole different camera running out 480p, which is crazy that that's a thing still, but that's my traveling one. I can't get rid of it. It's a plant. You know, we're on a plant. So
Do you think that's something that the Switch needed, was to have like those online comms in a way that like the other systems might have?
I think what Nintendo does is always like gimmicky stuff that kind of might just seem fun, and I don't think a camera is really like necessary. I think you could just go back to like, hey, normal games, plug in a mic or do whatever, like Bluetooth and just talk. But they always have to do something that's difficult. So like Switch One had like their Switch app where you would have to join a party on the app to like communicate with each other, and I'd have to connect, like talk through the phone. So I'm glad that they got rid of that, because that's crazy to bring another device into just trying to play a game on your Switch. I think it's just like fun, but it looks like what kind of like tanked though when they were advertising that camera and they had all the screens on the bottom, that Paul Rudd commercial. That video behind them was not very good quality. So it almost was like, what's the point of this? Like, you look great, but I can't really see what you're doing. It's really bad. So it's almost like, guys, can we just plug a mic, and
that seems the best to me, because I mean, like, the Xbox Connect never took off. The PlayStation does the camera too, never took off. So it's like, what is it about Nintendo they think is going to make it take off?
I don't have like full dates, but we can talk about some of the games that I'm definitely looking forward to. Besides the Mario Kart World, and Donkey Kong, we have this like Dragon Drive. Which I don't know. To me, it's kind of like, have you seen anything about it yet?
No, definitely not Dragon Drive. No,
it's a wheelchair basketball, right?
Oh, okay.
So what the gimmick is you saw that the Joy-Cons can be used like mouse, right?
I saw kids using
that's
this,
what you're doing. Yeah, that's what you're using, like push your wheels and then throw. A little part of it, and someone pointed out, it doesn't look very massive. Like when you're in the arena and you're playing the game, there's no crowd around you. There's nothing. Like you have the sounds and stuff, but there's nothing there. So it's almost like we're missing the mark here on like, how do you make this game full?
Does the mouse feature appeal to you? Is that something you're excited for?
I don't know, and I think I won't really know unless I make the attempt on playing Metroid 4.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
And see what it's like in a first person. Yeah, so it depends how, I guess. Is there a lot of functions on? Well, I guess it'd be playing like a macro mouse. So maybe I think I'll try it on a first person.
I think a first person shooter would be
it's not
the selling point. Like if I can get that to function well on the Xbox Series X or the PS5, I could see doing that.
Yeah. I think to me it's nothing like, oh, I can't wait for it. It's just one of those Nintendo.
Yeah, they like to throw stuff at the wall and see what works. And well, sometimes they'll reinvent the industry. So yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's really what's kind of like coming up. Besides some like third parties, you got your Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is interesting, or rumored.
I mean, it's going to be able to play Cyberpunk. I think is a real testament to the system, because Cyberpunk is one of those games that like that you have to have a good PC for. It's definitely pushes your system.
Yeah. Heck yeah. So yeah, interesting.
All right, so you'll do the review for us on that.
Yeah,
and
so I'll have my
Kart.
Switch.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll have my Switch. Hopefully it's not delayed or canceled for any like crazy reason, because I've seen some of those come out already. But I keep checking my Walmart order very often, and we're still good. And if worse comes to worse, I have a shopping experience at the Nintendo store on the 7th. I'm just grabbing all the warp passes, is what they're calling them, to get in. And if I don't have to drive to San Francisco, going to give you a Switch to it back there. So.
I know you will. All right, so review for that coming in as soon as possible. Let's get into our interview with Mark Daumier. Can you kind of break us into what you're using, how you're using it to educate kids?
Sure, yeah. I teach 7th and 8th grade English in a small rural community in south central Minnesota. And as you mentioned, I love comic books. I've got over 14,000 comic books in my collection.
Wow.
And, it dawned on me when I was student teaching, actually, which was a very long time ago, that sometimes students struggle to read because they can't visualize what's happening. Somebody like me who loves to read, I can always see in my head what's happening. And I think a lot of kids can't really do that. So I thought, well, what if they have a comic book in front of them, they're reading, and they're seeing what's happening, and maybe it helps develop that passion for reading and also some reading comprehension. So I wrote different comic book companies, and like Dark Horse Comics sent me a whole bunch of free comic books to use in my student teaching with kids and stuff like that. And so when I got my teaching job, I thought, well, okay, let's bring that in here and introduce kids to that. So if you walked into my classroom, you would find a whole shelf full of comic books and different comic book collections, and kids are allowed to read those for book reports, things like that. Because to me, if you read 20, 25 comic books, that's the same as reading a novel. And they have that opportunity. Because I just think back when I was growing up and introduced to comic books, I think I gained a pretty good vocabulary by reading old Marvel comics, where it would take you 20 minutes to actually read a comic book, and they had different words in there and everything. So to try to introduce kids to that, that's one of the things that I give as an option. Hey, try this out. Yeah. Read something, and maybe the pictures help stimulate a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like it helps bridge the like visual art to reading, and kind of giving them that bridge into something that they're maybe more familiar with.
Right. Yeah. And there's some, you could say there's some comic books that are high art when it comes to writing ability. You look at, not that I provide Watchmen or Dark Knight Returns for my middle schoolers, although there are probably some who could handle that. But there's some really great writing out there too.
There is, yeah, and Watchmen actually is very text dense as well. So if they do ever get to that point, it is kind of higher grades that should be reading it anyways, just for that sense. Let's go back to what got you into comic books. What was your first, favorite comic book, and what made you fall in love with that genre?
Yeah, well, my parents maybe kicked themselves after a while, and I was trying to think about this a little bit recently. My first comic subscription was way back in 1979 to Amazing Spider-Man. So this is right around, I think, like 189, 190 was my first comic. And I think my parents maybe got it for me because I used to watch The Electric Company, which those of us of a particular age remember as graduating from Sesame Street to The Electric Company. And Spider-Man was on there. And Spider-Man was cool. So my parents got me that. And, all these years later, with so many comics in my collection, my mom used to yell at me I spent too much money on them. And now I still spend too much money on them. But so Spider-Man's always been a big favorite of mine. Captain America I really grew to love. And I belong to a Cap comic book fans a Facebook group, which is just a wonderful place to be on Facebook. Very, very happy and polite and kind. And so
that's Cap's kind of group.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you can't be like Captain America, you can't be in the group. So Captain America also stands out there. And then when I got introduced to DC Comics, which was kind of the beginning of my high school years, The Flash became somebody that I really enjoyed.
Great choice.
When a comic book shop opened up in New Ulm, Minnesota, where I grew up, and as a Marvel maniac, I thought, DC, who needs that? And well, I do. I need a lot of that. So, so it's been going on for a very long time, and I've expanded out even more. And as I'm looking around my office that I'm sitting in, I started to delve into collecting some original art and commissions and sketches and stuff too. So I spend even more than I need to right now.
That's the hard part, is when you let that fandom grow and foster, it gets to pretty expensive where you have to have originals and things like that.
Yeah. So well worth it though.
Absolutely. I tell you, I got to take your class.
Well, some of the kids get very excited when I mention we're going to watch Star Wars, and others just cringe. And then I tell them they also have to write a paper, an analytical essay, talking about the movie and what was good about it, what could use improvement. Would you recommend people to watch this? And if so, maybe there are particular people that would watch it. So so I'm a believer. Of course, I love Star Wars. I'm very passionate about it. But it's one of those things that I had a college professor talk about one time, certain pop culture references that everybody should be aware of, and certain things that you should be exposed to no matter what. And he talked about Star Wars a little bit. If you say, I am your father, it doesn't matter if you've never seen a Star Wars movie. Everybody knows that line. Usually they say, Luke, I am your father, which of course is incorrect, but everybody knows the line. And I thought about that. And again, what do you carry with you? Everybody should watch a Star Wars movie. And every year I'll ask, how many of you have never seen a Star Wars movie? And it's usually about 50-50.
Okay.
when the sequel trilogy was coming out, it was a lower number because people were kind of getting into it a little bit. But it's about 50-50. And then I tell them their parents have failed them. It's my job to, to correct their life a little bit. And it's funny because there's still some who say, oh, it's terrible. I never want to watch a Star Wars movie again. And then there are the ones who say, holy cow.
Yeah.
I got to go watch the rest of them now. And I warned them, well, that's a lot. Finish the trilogy I showed you.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally gotten smart in my older age that I have 3 different 7th grade classes in which I show it. And I show a different beginning movie in each one. So I'm not watching the same movie 3 times a day.
Yeah.
So episode 1, episode 4, episode 7.
Yeah.
That's my watching for a while.
I mean, that's a great playlist.
Yeah, right. Because I don't want to show a kid who's never seen it the middle one or the end one.
Right.
Like, let's start you at a good beginning point. So if you do like it, you can watch the other ones. So, and they write some really good papers. And one of the other parts of that is, if I gave them a movie to watch that everybody would like, or most of them, the papers would get boring.
Mm-hmm.
Because if everybody's going to like it, and they're all going to write about liking it, well, then that's kind of boring for me to read. And I want some kids, to not like it, to be able to defend their position.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's an important skill. You can disagree with people and defend your position and be respectful about it. And that's really important writing skill.
When teaching through comics, teaching the narrative structures and creativity, has there been any structures that really seem to lend themselves to comics? Like for example, do you see like the 3-act structure is very easy to show through the comic book medium or anything like that?
We don't get too in depth into that in middle school.
Oh, fair enough.
That would be, we have a creative writing class at the high school level. That would be something that if I taught that class, we would get a little more involved. I do have, I have an honors group of 8th graders that we participate in National Novel Writing Month every November, where they write like 10,000 word stories for me, which is the equivalent of about 25 to 30 page type story. And there we talk about those kinds of things. And they have the option then, when we get to these final projects, take that story they wrote in November and say, what if this looked like a comic? What if I put it there? How would that appear? They can do that. And some choose to do that. Hey, I already have the idea. I can do that. But you're right. You could take, again, at a little bit higher level. I always have that in the back of my head. If I ever taught a high school class again, because I've done it periodically, how could I do that? How could I keep bringing these comics in? And that's probably something where I would take, some of my omnibus collections that I have in my classroom or things like that to show the kids, or maybe, hey, use some of my budget to order, some trade paperbacks and things like that, and show that art that you talk about. Here's the beginning and the middle and the end and how that goes through. I think once they're exposed to Shakespeare their freshman year with Romeo and Juliet, they're kind of ready for, oh, I understand how that all works. But it's a little bit of a building process. But I do have that noted, that if my principal ever comes and says, hey, guess what? You're up. Here you go. We will. I already know I would attack that and keep using those comic books because, again, it's something that kids can look at and say, I can handle this no matter what, no matter how much they struggle with reading. And we have kids who really do. I can do this. If you have to read, if you want to read Big Nate, which is a hilarious comic strip, go ahead and read that. Dork Diaries, Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Oh, yeah.
Good for you. If you're enjoying it, you can tell me what it's about. All right, we're on the right path.
Yeah. And if the kids are struggling too hard for something that's a little bit too wordy for them, that's going to struggle. They're going to push back with the comprehension, and then they're just going to turn their back on reading. And it's like, no, there's something out there for you. It's so good for them to find it.
And I think, like Free Comic Book Day just happened not long ago.
Yeah.
And the local store where I live, you take as many as you want. And then sometimes I'll stop by in the summer and they'll say, I got all these left over. Just take them and put them in your classroom. And I tell kids, take what you want. Again, if that's going to get you to read a little bit, and maybe you'll like it, and maybe you'll like comic books, and we can talk about it, because that happens too sometimes.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite comic book character? And with the MCU and all those things out there, kids really aren't afraid to talk about it as much, which is wonderful, to share, the geekdom that we have with everybody.
Over the years,
it's cool to be a geek, right?
You've seen geekdom change and be more adopted by everybody.
Yeah.
With the introduction of the MCU, so broadly powerful, and now we have the DCU on the horizon. Mm-hmm. Have you seen any sort of specific heroes that seem to be really grabbing these kids' attentions?
It waxes and wanes a little bit. Like when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, that was all the rage. All I heard was I Am Groot up and down the hall.
That's wild too, because that's got to be a hard comic to find.
Yeah, right. And actually, I found some really good trade paperbacks because when these things come out, I want just like they put them on the shelves in the comic book shops and bookstores because maybe it'll grab somebody's attention. I'll go find those. So like I was working on my budget, looking at, should I get some Superman collections? That might be a big thing when they come out of the summer, some Fantastic Four. Should I do things like that? We even had a discussion about Thunderbolts after I watched that. And I don't think any kids in one of my classes had seen it. But one student was really looking forward to it because she really likes the White Widow and was really looking forward to it. I said, well, you will love it. No spoilers, but she is the star of the show.
Absolutely.
So, And so you get those, and I talked way back at the beginning of this, those connections you make with kids, and hey, that I know that you really like this, and we can talk about this. And it doesn't have to be in front of the whole class, but you might stop by in the morning or see me in the hall or at the cafeteria or whatever, and we can talk about that. It has, as the MCU after the Avengers movies kind of dimmed just a little bit, it was kind of tough. Kids haven't been quite as talkative about it, but it's just searching and finding that occasional, hey, that was really cool, or whatever Star Wars. When Mandalorian came out, holy cow! And actually, as the pandemic hit, and I had half my class in my classroom and half of them at home, and I was getting to that part to show Star Wars. I said, what do I do? Like we switch, and some kids are at home, and I settled on that year showing a couple episodes of The Mandalorian for their essay.
Oh, great idea.
So at least one of the days you were in my classroom and you could see it on the screen. And the other day you were at home and it wasn't as easy to see on the virtual stuff. But if you watch the first 2 episodes of the first season of The Mandalorian, how do you not want to watch the rest of it?
Amen.
I mean, they were in love with Grogu and everything else at the very beginning. They thought it was really, really cool. I said, and there's more. And so that was a cool thing. And when the movie comes out, I'm sure there will be a lot of discussion too in my class. And who knows, maybe I'll decide to show that. Depending how it is for my class.
Right. Yeah.
We have Christmas activity days and we pick things to do. And I'll usually pick one of the latest MCU movies to show for kids who don't want to watch a Christmas movie or bake Christmas cookies or do whatever. They just want to kind of geek out a little bit. So, I've shown Doctor Strange and Shang-Chi and things like that because, hey, let's all get together and watch something really awesome.
Man, I wish I had a teacher like you.
It is. It's hey, not everybody likes it, but it's unique, and you're going to be able to say, "Oh yeah, we watched Star Wars," or "Yeah, we watched Star Wars."
Exactly.
But you remember that you watched Star Wars.
Yeah, and then
that's important.
Now I'm thinking like with Mandalorian's a great example. You could go into old samurai stories. You can go, I mean, cowboy, the Western, that's how the thing was filmed. So it really lets you kind of launch off into a whole other genre that maybe kids today, I'm sure, not looking into Westerns or even like the old samurai stories, but it's like, this is what it was based off of. Come check these out.
Well, really and cool. We read the play version of the Diary of Anne Frank in 8th grade. And it's pretty easy to talk about George Lucas's fascination with World War II.
Yeah.
And linking Emperor Palpatine to Adolf Hitler and his rise to power, very similar.
Yeah.
Almost mimetic in a sense. And the dogfights in space are based on the real dogfights of World War II. And you just show them all this stuff like, hey, if you like Star Wars, or if you like Anne Frank, and you recognize they're the same path, they're the same, there's a lot of the same story, because there really aren't any new original stories in the world. I mean, they're to start. There have been stories forever and ever, but there are about 7 basic stories out there, and everything fits into there. It's how you craft that story and create your characters that makes such a difference. So, the idea of here's Star Wars and here's Anne Frank and here's how they're alike doesn't strike most people as, wait, what? You know, like, how is that possible? But it is. And again, how do you grab their attention? You know, you're in 8th grade and he's talking about Adolf Hitler and the Nazis and stormtroopers.
Right.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Okay. So, and they generally love Anne Frank just as much as they do The Outsiders anyway.
Yeah.
But it gives them a little bit extra to keep that, you know, when you've taught a very long time and you see your former students and they can still bring back those memories, that's so gratifying. It makes it so worth it that, you know, hey, I remember 20 years ago, you know, doing this in your class. Awesome. Then I had the impact that I was hoping for.
And there's something where Galaxy Far, Far Away or Marvel superheroes, sometimes they show humanity in a way that like it's hard to see in an everyday life. But like to be a good person might be easier to recognize in Captain America than it is to recognize in our parents. It's not that it's not there. It's just that for some reason, the way we project it, it's easier to see it on Cap. And yeah, like with the Star Wars narrative, and especially like with current day Andor, which I think Andor might be a little bit too mature for your class, but
probably.
But you really are seeing like how propaganda works and how that's echoed in history and stuff like that. So yeah, it's easier to see it through that format and then bring it home and to see it in history.
Yeah, it's exciting. One of our social studies teachers has added a pop culture class as a social studies class.
Oh wow!
To introduce them and show them all those types of things and link it to social studies. I think, oh, cool. Again, if I was in high school, I would sign up for that class. Of course, I would.
Outside of Star Wars and comic books, is there any other media or any other fandoms you would like to bring into the classroom that might have something unique to provide?
Well, I am a big sports fanatic too. I mean, I really love sports, and I am our PA announcer at our school. I'm the voice of the Panthers.
Yeah.
All that kind of fun stuff too. And we will do some stuff where, like, write about an event of your life as if it was being reported on as a sports story. You know, like,
oh wow.
You know, here you are, it can be a very mundane thing, like your birthday party, but write about it. And we come back to that who, what, when, where, why, and how. That just kind of exudes throughout the curriculum.
Yeah.
But write about it, make it really sound exciting. Make it sound like it's a huge event. Just like, and we'll talk about, you know, here, let's talk about the basketball game last night or whatever, and show how we do that. And then show how your event can be the same way. Because especially in a smaller school like ours, sports is huge. And there are a lot of kids that participate in athletics. Well, now this draws them in a little bit too. And how can we talk about my sporting event and write about that and keep those good writing skills there? But also that's important. You know, when you're in 7th and 8th grade and, hey, I had 10 points last night, or hey, I got my first hit of the season last night. Okay, well, let's talk about that. You know, let's include that, because that might be, you might not play in high school and you're going to kind of hang on to those memories a little bit. So that sort of stuff, I really kind of bring that in a little bit too. What other fandoms do I have? I have too many things going on probably. But the comics and Star Wars are what stand out. Little preschoolers will walk by my room and they go, you know, there's the Star Wars guy, or there's the Spider-Man guy, because I have posters
That's
up.
Cool.
And all that. I'm like, you're going to be in my classroom someday, and you're going to remember that. And those kind of things. A little bit like Michael Scott from The Office. I have all kinds of Funko Pops and toys on my desk and everything like that. And and kids are always asking about that. So to expand into that, you know, TV shows that you watch, you know, you interact. Like, I really like Game of Thrones. And when kids talk Game of Thrones, I'm like, well, you really shouldn't be watching those yet. You're not really old enough to watch that. I have a student right now who's super into Stephen King. Again, not super age appropriate, but he's loving Stephen King. Well, let's talk about that. You know,
well, I think for me, like, it was Goosebumps, then Stephen King. So I think probably around that age, I was starting to look into Stephen King. Yeah.
When I see him walking down the hall with Cujo in his hands, I said, oh, I've got more Stephen King. If your parents are okay with you reading Stephen, right? Like, if they're okay with that, I got more Stephen King for you. Let me recommend some stuff for you, because you're reading. And when I'll tell other teachers, you're like, this kid's reading Stephen King. They're like, wait, he's reading? Period? Like, full stop?
Yeah.
Yes. And that's where we find that. So, you know, the different things. I love reading just about anything and bring that into play, so that I can recommend things for kids to read. You know, I haven't read a lot of anime or manga or anything like that, but I've read enough to understand the kids who really enjoy that.
Yeah.
My son's one of them. He really, really likes that. And I've read some, and so that I can do the best job I can to recommend things for people and kind of steer them in a good direction for those kinds of things. So, you know, it's just all about engaging with them and leading them on a good path to success.
Yeah.
Whatever that path might look like. Hopefully it's not the dark side, but you know, it could be. So
yeah, meeting them where they're at and then guiding them into what kind of future they came. Yeah, even with Stephen, I'm thinking about Stephen King, and I'm like,
yeah,
Christine, and there are a lot of stories that take place in high school for him.
Sure. Yeah.
And so there's a lot of outside of the horror of growing up that they could be learning about.
Yeah, when you see yourself in a character a little bit, that's so important. I go back to The Outsiders again. There's so many kids who see themselves in these kind of leftover kids who don't have much going on at home. Parents are absent for one reason or another. They maybe don't get along with other people. They're like, oh my gosh, that's me.
Yeah.
And these kids are, fighting for survival, and they're making it. I can really relate to that. Let me read more.
What advice would you give to a teacher who might want to take this approach? What's some of those early steps?
Well, I think part of it is, like you mentioned earlier, meet the kids where they are. Don't thrust. I mean, okay, I thrust Star Wars upon them, but there's a little bit of a caveat there of I have to teach you how to write persuasively anyway and how to analyze something. Let's watch something to do it. I mean, we could do some boring thing, but let's do it this way, and to kind of couch it in terms of here's some stuff that's out there, and if you don't like it, you can at least say you've tried it. When we push things, and this is a trial and error thing you learn in teaching. I tried to teach Johnny Tremaine book about the Revolutionary War for a few years, and oh my gosh, it was a disaster. I liked the book a lot. They did not, no matter how I tried to do it. So you start to, it gets to be that, how do I know my students and what's going to work? And you get to know them and you say, this is going to work. So when I pick my Star Wars movies, which class is going to watch which going? It's based on the demeanor of that particular class section.
Okay.
Here's a group that's maybe a little bit less mature. They're going to watch Jar Jar Binks because, because they're going to go, oh, he's the coolest character ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And this class is a little more mature. They can handle The Force Awakens. They can handle some of the, themes that are in there. And so you kind of pick and choose a little bit based on that. But you have to know them, and you have to be genuine and sincere with your students. I am a geek. I have a Spider-Man tie. I have Star Wars ties. I have all those kinds of things that I wear at times. Dr. Seuss, whatever.
Yeah.
That's a cool tie, Mr. Daumier. Thanks. Really appreciate that. Hey, do you like Spider-Man? Do you like this or whatever? And you start to gauge that. Well, maybe now I should do something with that. Maybe now, and again, the brain is always cooking a little bit. Even talking to you, I'm thinking, man, how can I do more of this in my classroom? But you also have to recognize where too much can happen. For the kids who really are not engaged by that, I have to reach them a different way. Everybody learns differently. I'd like to think everybody would enjoy a comic book, would enjoy Star Wars, but they wouldn't. Just like for me to sit and watch a romance movie, no thank you. There's a lot of things I'd rather do than that. Yeah. But for some people, that is their cup of tea. Wonderful. How can we find something that you like related to that? So when young teachers come in and you try to mentor them a little bit, it's always about, hey, here's the curriculum and here's some of the standards, but get to know those kids, understand them, and figure out how they learn. Because if they don't learn the way you're teaching, it's up to you to change. They're not going to change. If you're a hands-on learner, it's not going to change. If you're that visual learner, that comic books would help you, it's hard to overcome that. So I need something to help you with that. So figure that out. And every year is a little bit different. But then you find things that work. And when kids get to know that you are genuine, they will buy into a lot of things. And like I heard a speaker say at my daughter's commencement today, it's not the I have to do this, it's the I get to do this. And when you have that mindset, you're so open to learning, no matter what form that takes.
That's a really good, yeah, that's a really good mindset to keep, especially going into the higher education and stuff like that when it's a privilege to be there. And it's hard to remember sometimes when it's those grueling nights, but
Right.
yeah,
Right. Yes.
it's a good way to keep your mind open.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, Mark, I enjoyed this conversation so much. I want to thank you very much for joining me today.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm popping around here in my chair. I just get so excited talking about this stuff, and really look forward to visiting with anybody who enjoys comics, Star Wars, anything. Maybe you'll introduce me to something new. I love that too.
Yeah.
I never would have thought I would have liked The Walking Dead until somebody introduced me to it.
To me, I'm thinking Star Trek would be so good at teaching classes because it's got, this idealistic future and stuff like that, but it might be too much with Star Wars as well.
Yeah, right. And I actually gave a speech in college on why Star Wars is better than Star Trek. And I've grown to appreciate Star Trek much more since then, but
yeah,
two very different worlds, and yeah, worlds would collide and kids would just go crazy trying to figure it out right now. So
that's very true. Very true. All right, that's our conversation with Mark Daumier. So we're going to follow up with Mark and talk more about how the learning process has changed for these kids over the years and stuff like that. I think it's just fascinating the idea of using comic books because it gives people a visual medium to introduce them into reading. Yeah, let's just go right into the watch list. Normally Jonathan does the watch list for us, but he's not here today, so I'll do it for us. Here are the movies and shows we're hyped for in June. So let's start with the shows. First off, we have Ironheart coming out on Disney Plus on June 24th. It's gonna be 6 episodes long. They're dropping the first 3 on the premiere. We're gonna see Ironheart, and we're getting introduced to the Hood, played by Anthony Ramos. It is way too short, in my opinion. But the CGI I think looks promising. I think it looks pretty good. On June 25th on Hulu, we have The Bear. They're gonna release all episodes at once. Jeremy Allen White's back. It's The Bear. It's gonna give you anxiety. It's good stuff. Do you watch The Bear?
No, the wife. I catch parts of it because the wife does very much. I catch parts of it.
Squid Game season 3, the final season, is coming out June 27th over on Netflix. We're gonna have more information on this soon. The Tadam event is tonight, so hopefully I can get a little bit of that in this podcast. But I'm sure we'll get a new trailer for this as well. But it's the final season for the series. Now let's head over to the theaters. On June 5th, we have Ballerina. That's the spinoff for the John Wick series. John Wick is in it, and John Wick has a new movie coming up. They're filming it now. It's going to be basically a reboot to the franchise.
It's not going to stop.
Are you burnt out on John Wick, or do you like these still?
They keep the killings pretty fresh.
Yeah.
Every time I watch it, like, oh my god, where do you come up with this? Like, who's brainstorming these things?
Yeah.
So I'm not fatigued yet.
Okay. So yeah, we have a new one of those coming up. That'll be good. Next, we have How to Train Your Dragon on June 13th. After Lilo and Stitch, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I need any live actions.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought that same thing, and I watched that trailer, and I was like, what is this movie? And then I realized what it was, and I was like, this looks great. So I got pretty high hopes for this one.
Okay, so we'll do a review for all of these, but yeah. Did you end up watching Lilo and Stitch yet?
I did.
What'd you think of it?
I think if I can, which I did, I told you I would, be a good boy and separate the original from this new one. I thought it was a good movie. Ohana
doesn't mean family. Ohana means getting laid on the mainland.
But oh man, if I were to like compare those two and the one I loved so much back in the day, then it's like motherfucker.
I was talking to somebody who's like, I've never seen Lilo and Stitch. Should I watch that? And I'm like, watch the animated one. Yeah,
no.
Go for it.
But watch the live one first so you don't get too upset.
Yeah. I think it's the ending that everybody, and then she's going to go to the mainland to learn marine biology. And it's like, you're in Hawaii.
You're on a fucking island.
They send you to Hawaii to learn it. Oh man. All right. June 20th. We got 28 years later. I'll definitely be watching this one. It's part of a new trilogy. And I loved the first two. Next up, we have Elio on June 20th for Pixar. I kind of feel like Pixar, it used to be a guaranteed hit every time. It's not that anymore, huh?
Yeah, you're right. But you know what? I think Elio's going to be the one.
You think so?
We're finally going to get like a Disney movie that we're going to like. This one is looks pretty cool. I like the whole alien friendship with the human and how they're bickering back and forth with each other. And what was it when they were like, I don't know if you recall, but they were like climbing in a tunnel or something. You're like, oh, this is a disappointment, or the alien saying I'm a disappointment or something to his dad, but it's like jokingly. Like I can't recall exactly how that conversation went, but I think this is one. I think we're finally going to get something pretty solid from Pixar.
It's one of the like
not this Toy Story
one
bullshit.
out of 10 movies that are original from Disney right now. Everything else is a remake or a sequel or something like that. So
they got to stop doing that.
I know. I'm happy to have an original story. There's a whole generation of kids that don't don't get anything original.
And you know what the sad thing is? Like these, like my daughters, for example, they know who all the princesses are because we introduced them to that.
Yeah.
I don't need you to rework the princesses. They'll fucking know who they are. And other families that are like, Disney fans too and grew up with these princesses and whoever, they're gonna know. Like the fucking, let's see, Ariel, for example, is like one of my daughter's favorite, and they love Belle, and this is early 90s, so we don't need retellings. Like be original. One of them's gonna land. Rapunzel, Tangled. I love Rapunzel. When that came out, I was like, this is a Disney film.
100%.
Sometimes gonna hit, sometimes gonna not. Sorry you don't have your magic like you used to, and they always be bangers, but figure it out,
Yeah, I think Wish was like a misstep, but hey, Tangled was fantastic. Just gotta give it a shot. Give it a try.
Yeah.
June 27th, we have F1 coming to theaters. This is a new Brad Pitt movie. I don't know if I'm gonna be excited to watch this, but it's like it's done super well, type of thing like that. Like it's gonna be one of those movies that people are gonna be talking about.
And then I'm a big F1 fan.
Are you? Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I love F1, and I always find myself getting into like these race car movies, like Gran Turismo. I was watching on the plane. I was really into it, so I'm definitely kind of looking forward to that one. Surprisingly.
Yeah, I think it might be good. And then lastly, we have Megan 2.0. Did you watch the first Megan?
Yeah, but this fucking one looks so stupid. I don't know what 180 bullshit they did for this movie, but it looks so stupid. Sorry if you're like really gonna know about it. You look like now like, oh shit. Never mind.
I'm not super excited for it. So you're good.
I don't know what we went with to try to make something like a Chucky horror thing to whatever the fuck this was going to be.
Yeah. The thing that I was like, that's rough is when they're like, we can't fight this new, whatever its name is. We need to unleash Megan on it. And then so they're bringing the bad guy back to fight this. And then Megan's like, I need kung fu upgrades. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Y'all, this is some really bad anime.
I just don't understand the thought process of how they went from the original one to try to make it kind of horror or whatever, modern day Chucky.
Yeah.
To, I don't know, whatever, robots fighting robots type thing. I don't know. Comical, I guess you could say now.
Definitely comical. Yeah. I think it's kind of leaning a little towards that. Which is, we don't need that. We have other horror movies to watch. So, Squeaks, let's end with our recommendations of the week. I'm going to start with you, buddy.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, my recommendation is going to be in the Warhammer 40K universe, and it's not new, but it's new to me, and it was introduced, and I was really impressed as soon as it started. It was going to be Warhammer Darktide.
Okay.
And it's essentially what got me kind of interested into it, that Warhammer just recently, Games Workshop probably just did their Skulls event, which is like their press Nintendo tree.
Yeah.
So their Nintendo tree. And they are releasing new DLC for it. So I was like, all right, let me check it out. I know someone that plays it. I played with him, and so it's essentially this Left 4 Dead style game that just seems way better, because what it does is it introduces classes instead of you just picking a skin essentially, and then whatever gun you want. Mm-hmm. So each class kind of has their roles and stuff. I felt like it was really polished, really big. It's the grimy side of, well, I mean, I guess all Warhammer is grimy, but it's more like the underground type feels of normal humans instead of the Space Marine stuff, killing mutants, and it's all just a massive amounts of hordes, and you're just slashing, and it's a blast. It's a good time. It's a good time.
Okay.
Yeah. So Warhammer Darktide.
Darktide. Okay. For me, I'm going to suggest the 2020 run for Darth Vader, put out by Marvel, and I've been tiptoeing into this franchise, especially some of the newer stuff, and it does a really great job of explaining Darth Vader immediately after the events of Episode 3, and even just the building his relationship with Palpatine. I didn't think about how that relationship was so incredibly new after the Episode 3, that it's how do you Darth Vader and all the Inquisitors? What is that relationship like? Well, Palpatine had to really instill in him that there's a rule of two. You are Sith, I am Sith, no one else is Sith. And so the Inquisitors are basically fallen Jedi, and that's it. And Darth Vader hates the Inquisitors because of that. Like, he doesn't like the Inquisitors at all, but he has to use them as tools. He puts them in their place multiple times. One of my favorite stories so far that I'm going through with this is there's these two Inquisitors that fall in love. Vader sees that as a problem, attacks them both on Coruscant, and kills them. But in the process, like, crashes a car into a senator's house, and like all kinds of mayhem ensues. So the Palpatine's like, you're getting too much attention on yourself. We can't do that. And so he's like, well, then I want a planet. And he's like, what planet do you want? I want Mustafar. And so the reason he wants Mustafar, we learned through these comics, is that it's oozing in dark side of the Force. So he's like, I want to go there. It's where I first really tapped into the dark side and understood what it was. Bring me to Mustafar. So then he ends up getting Mustafar. So he builds the Castle of Vader, which is another great comic book run. It's really solid and kind of expanding on this Anakin into Darth Vader phase, and like seeing how, it's great. And like when he meditates, you see this like dark version of him that's meditating, and like the arms are Sith created, which is an ability he learns in the comics to do like by accident. Like somebody, I forget how that happens, but say basically somebody gets him while he's outside of his suit. And with the dark side, he creates like Force arms and legs to fight, but it's like very, very temporary. But it's like, I didn't know I could do that, so it's sick. It's a really cool run. So check that out, guys. Darth Vader started in 2020 through Marvel.
Yeah, these Star Wars comics and the storytelling on them is just something we need to see on a screen, because they're phenomenal stories. And I remember reading some of the, I don't remember which run of Darth Vader it was, but Darth Vader was attacking, essentially looking for a Jedi that happened to be in Naboo. If I remember, but one of the stills, whatever, were like missiles from like Star Destroyers, whatever, coming down into the ocean and start blowing like the city up in the ocean. I'm like, this is fucking cinema gold. Like, come on, this is phenomenal. Like, what? Oh man,
they do a great job, and it's a character that it's nice. He needs more time to really explore, and then like Palpatine, like just kind of learning how that relationship worked out, and Darth Vader was. There's been a few times where Darth Vader is like, oh God, there's this one helmet. I don't want to go too far into this. There's one helmet where when you put, it's so freaking dope. When you put it on somebody, they get the memory of everybody who had the helmet. And so when he first goes to Mustafar, he takes like this one, whatever dude, random dude, and he puts the helmet on him, and he's like, I want you to start building my castle. And so he's working on it. And every time the guy messes up, he just kills him, puts the helmet on somebody else, like, keep going. And just, dude,
this is like, I want to see this on TV. Like, stop making whatever you're doing and just copy whatever's in the comic books. Like, I'm telling you, when I recommended the Kylo Ren one, like,
that's
people
what got
would
me
start liking
looking
Kylo
into
Ren
this
more.
one, was the Kylo Ren recommendation.
Man, come on, dude. This stuff is like gold. Like, that's crazy what you just said.
Yeah, so because that's what the guy's building a device, like a Sith device that could bring somebody back from the dead. So he's like, Padme, perfect.
Yeah.
So he's doing this. Meanwhile, this helmet, which belonged to an old Sith leader, he just keeps putting on new people. Every time they mess up, he kills them, puts it on a new person. Well, eventually, the actual like population of Mustafar dumbasses attack Vader, trying to like, hey, what are you building on our planet? And they attack him. So he fights them off. But in that process, the guy with the helmet finishes building the thing and then brings back the original him, the original Sith leader that the helmet belonged to in the first place, the very first memories, and brings him back to life. And then so basically Vader has to fight off a Sith Lord, and they're both in that process. That Sith Lord's explaining the rule of two the whole time, and explaining like, I have to kill you because Palpatine's not here, and there can only be two of us that exist. So then he's like, I have to kill Vader. It's so freaking wild, guys. It's really good.
What do you recall the Lord's name, the Sith guy?
I don't. I know his helmet very well because you see it going on a lot of people. But and then like after he kills that guy, he takes the helmet, he puts it on the next guy, and like keep going and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm only asking because I do have a novel that I forgot the name of the Sith myself. Was the one that created the role of two. Yeah. So I need to really like dive into that. So
I'll look into it.
I was curious if that happened to be that one. Yeah.
I'll have to look into it after off mic, but yeah, it's pretty wild. So check that out, guys.
Yeah.
Marvel. It's worth a subscription too, by the way. And yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for hanging out with us this week. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Yeah.